All right. Well, now we get started, and let me introduce myself. Hi, I'm Cecily MacArthur, and very excited to do this teleconference with you tonight. And just a little bit about me, a quick background so you know who is talking to you. And I'm a spiritual teacher and coach, speaker, and writer. And I've had 20-plus years as a corporate consultant, and then I got way stressed out and exhausted and miserable. And then I found out I had cancer. So as a survivor of cancer, I have a second chance in my life to really do what I believe is my purpose and God has for me, and that includes doing this work. So today I'm doing healthy and energized and doing this spiritual work as a certified life coach and workshop trainer and inspirational speaker and writer. And I also work with as a life mastery consultant with Mary Morrissey as part of the Life Solutions organization. And I am writing 2 books. Well, one book is on its way to be published, 7 Ways to Stay Positive in Challenging Times. Should be out in May. I'm very excited about that. And then Mrs. Madison's Magic Garden. Maybe some of you have heard me that, seen it advertised. That's an entry into the next Top Spiritual Author Contest by Hampton Roads Publishing. We're really excited about that. So we're also developing a Light Beam Academy, which will be an online school. So busy, lots of new things going, and excited about adding to that this new Light Beam Hour to interview exciting people who can add to this idea of helping people to expand their lives through learning. So our guest tonight is Sheri Kaye Hoff, and she is the Global Living Joyful Everyday Coach. I love that. It's great. So Sheri is also a life coach and an author and a college professor. And she'll talk more about tragic loss that she had around her brother committing suicide. And that's really part of how she rediscovered how to live her life of joy and success. So she is also an author and has published Keys to Living Joyfully, which is available on Amazon. And she is creator of Your Path to Success, Jumpstart Your Joy in Life Joyfully, in Life Coaching Program, and Your Path to Success membership site. So also she does a Coach's Corner to grow your biz workshop and the How to Write a Book Fast and Fabulous workshop. So she's a busy lady. She's also an author and publisher of an ebook, 25 life coaching tips. And she has appeared as a guest blogger on over 20 blogs and has been featured in the Chicago Sun-Times, the Coaching Chronicle, and How to Sell Your Book blog. Additionally, she is an author of several blogs, numerous articles, poems, and short stories. She focuses on a flow creative process and working with inspired motivation. She's available to teach and inspire others to tap in their creativity and while living joyfully and successful every day. So I wanted to welcome her as our guest today and have this opportunity to inspire this audience. So Sheri, tell us a little bit more about your story and how you got this started in this.
Well, sure. Well, first of all, I just have to say a big hello to everyone and a big thank you, Cecily, for
conference muted.
For having me on your Light Beam Hour. That's really exciting. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I just want to mute everyone while you're speaking, just so we don't get any noise.
I just, I do that sometimes. I talk and talk and then realize, oh, no one can hear me.
They should be hearing you.
That's no good. Yeah. Okay. So yes, I'm the author of the book Keys to Living Joyfully and a life coach. And how that all happened for me is, when I was a teenager, I had one of those families where, we went on walks in the woods and we, had dinners together every Sunday and, we would have long conversations and kind of one of those sort of ideal families. And and my younger brother was training for the Olympics in figure skating, and he had a couple injuries, and he had gotten a kind of a mono type of illness. And, but it was really just over a couple months that he just physically didn't really feel very good, but it was nothing that, gave alarm bells to anyone. And he, was just always a very driven, success-oriented person. So I came home from school. I was 17 years old. I came home from school and found him after he had committed suicide. And it was, just a crushing, tragic event for not just our family, but our entire community. And, I was one of those kids that was headed for Ivy League school and just, also very driven and success-oriented. And it was just like a semi-truck ran me over. And I was really drifting for about 7 years after that, and just felt like I couldn't get my grounding. I couldn't get my feet on the ground. I couldn't wrap my head around what I was supposed to do. I felt numb, and I also felt like I would never, ever have any positive feelings ever again. I mean, I could fake positive really well. People, still thought I was really energetic, but inside I was just, dying a little bit every day. And it was just a really lost time. And then I met my husband, and we really connected. We connected on a spiritual level, and I realized one thing that I had kind of set aside when I was in this terrible grief was my spirituality. And, our first time we went out for dinner together, I just blurted out to him, I really feel like I'm missing the spiritual side of my life. That used to be really important to me, and I feel kind of lost. And he was in the same place, and we got married. We started having kids, and it was really when I gave birth to my oldest daughter, she's 16 now, that I felt it was like a circle of life thing. I mean, I felt that glimmer of joy and, and that things could be better. But still, for years after that, I did fine when I was with my 3 kids and when I was around people, but anytime I had to be alone, I still had this just kind of numb feeling and sadness, and I just figured, I accepted that, that my life would be sort of sad, that it would be tinged with sadness all the time. And I worked, I got my master's degree and worked in the corporate world and always in training and development. And then I started having this awakening where I just made that conscious choice that I wasn't going to accept my life any longer in this, feeling of loss, this feeling of sadness. And I just reached out for more and realized that I really, I wasn't sure, but I thought I could be happier. And, I started reading everything I could get my hands on about awakening, about spirituality, abundance, happiness. And then I suppose it was about 5 years, and I made a lot of progress along the way, and I probably throughout the call I'll talk about different pivoting points that happened, but it was about 5 years ago where, how you feel like you're just on the verge of something great, and I had been feeling like that for a while, and then it was over a weekend where I just had this spiritual healing, and I remember being in the grocery store, and I was buying, cucumbers and salad or whatever, and I just felt this feeling of intense joy and peace and calmness just come over me, and it was just such a great, amazing feeling. And so that is really what got me on the right track of not just going, okay, it's okay to be sort of mediocre through life. I wanted to feel joy. I wanted to feel success, and I felt like they needed to go together, not be separate. And it's really what launched my coaching practice. I had coached for a long time, not formally, but it's really what gave birth to life coaching. And, during that time, I had transitioned from the corporate world to higher education as a program director, and and then again it was like one of those awakenings of life coaching being my true calling. And so during all that time I had also started several books, and just kind of after the first chapter just thought, well, just didn't feel really inspired. And I decided that, I'd wanted to write a book probably since I was a young kid, and that I was going to do it. But I just got really quiet in a really great spiritual place, and my book just came to me. It just flowed out of me. I was in, what I like to call the flow creative essence, and I wrote my book in about 4.5 weeks. In 5.5 weeks, it was, really complete, but it was, like the last T and the last T crossed, last I dotted at about 4.5 weeks. And then I had it available on Amazon within just a couple months. So, so it was like a realization of a life dream in just a very short period of time. And ever since then, it's been a real whirlwind for me, because prior to writing my book, Keys to Living Joyfully, I was more of an executive coach, working with people on building their careers, and it shifted everything to an integration of spirituality along with success. And I really there's very few people out there now who, would separate those two. There's getting to be more of sort of a global consciousness of, spiritual life being essential to success in life, So that's, really how I ended up where I'm at today and why I'm here today. And we're going to talk about 3 keys to success, because very few people want to be just successful and not have any joy. And then there's also very few people who could say, well, I just want to walk around in bliss all day and, not have a car and a house and I mean, we can't all be monks, or we can't all be meditating all day. So it's really, to me, an integration of success and that joy every single day.
Sheri, I just want to interrupt you for a minute, because you said so much in your introduction, and I really appreciate how personal and really just shared so much about what you have been through. I think anyone in the audience who's been through any kind of a trauma and has had that experience, that numbness that you went through, and realizing that you put up this front and you appear to be fine, but inside you're not really connected with your feelings. And can you tell us more about how that, when you said you had more of the spiritual healing and you got into this flow with the book and what came through, can you say a little bit more about how that happened for you, how you came back from that, found your way back from that numbness?
Yeah, well, one thing, I think what it was is what led up to that was a combination of, having an open heart and, and reading lots of literature. Like I'm one of those book a day kind of people, and I just am a sponge to writing other people's writing and writing myself. But what really changed for me is when I came to realize that a person can choose their thoughts, that we're not a victim of our thoughts. Mm-hmm. Because I think prior to that, I would wake up in the morning and I would think, okay, how do I feel today? Instead of it was a choice on what I felt. Mm. And when I made that shift, that I could wake up and say, I choose a great day today. Because eventually, I mean, if I, prior to that, if I woke up and I thought, I feel sad or depressed or numb today, I would work myself into this big, fake, hello world, it's Sheri here, this enthusiasm, this outward enthusiasm, but inside I didn't feel it, where I had this realization that I could wake up in the morning and I could choose a great day for me and for, of course, the world too, but that it could bubble up inside of me. And so I really began working on my thought process, and it started with journaling every day. So I would get up, and no matter what, I had my journal with me, and I would write in my journal. And prior to this sort of awakening experience of, I can choose my thoughts, I would write all my feelings down in my journal. And sometimes I would be like more angry and more sad when I was done, right? But when I chose this process of active journaling where, I would start, and it's not really anything new, but I think it's when you really integrate it in your life, it becomes really powerful. so I would always start off, with gratitude and just, thank you for this beautiful, glorious day. It's something I put down every day in my journal. And then listing things that I was thankful for. And some days it would be, and if, for people who have been in 12-step programs, a gratitude list is, nothing new. But I would, sometimes it would be, I'm so thankful for a cup of coffee, where I'm really reaching on a day. If something's wrong with my car, I'm not really going to be, thankful for my car. So, on other days it would just be, I'm thankful for a roof over my head and or certain people in my life. But some days I would have to write pages and pages till I really got into that thankful attitude. I wouldn't stop until I really, truly felt like that bubbling up of really being in gratitude. So it wasn't faking it. It was doing it until I really, truly felt that. And then I would shift to everything I wanted in my life, So if it was, before I wrote my book, it was, I'm so happy and so thankful that I'm holding my finished book in my hand right now. As it is in the present, and anyone who's done affirmations knows you write them in the present like they're already happening now. And then I would write lists of those. Sometimes it would be, 5 or 6, and sometimes it would be several pages. But I would do that until I got into success mode. Then after that, I would become really quiet and prayerful. And I'm one of those people, I never used to be like this when I was younger, but I like to start with a traditional prayer and then, branch out into other kinds of my own prayers. But, I know that there may be people with different faith backgrounds, but I come from a Christian faith background, so I would say the Lord's Prayer. And then I would say, read other inspirational writings, whether they were from, poets, or I'm just, a big fan of quotes. I love Picasso quotes. I love Michelangelo, some of the, classic traditional quotes out there to get me in that inspired mode. And then I would get really quiet and I would just listen and just be really, really quiet. And then ideas would come to me, and they would be, profound ideas like, things like, trust me. Those kinds of words would just bubble forward. And sometimes it might just be one thought that would come in my head, and sometimes it would just be a pouring out of thoughts, and I would just write them all down in my journal so I could go back and read later. And so I do this pretty much every day of my life, even on vacation. Even if I'm going out of town, I always have my journal with me, and I keep everyone. And I also make sure that my journal is always beautiful. I have several different ones, but the one that I've been using now for over a year, it's a leather-bound cover, and I can put, new journals inside. So, and I just feel like it's a treasure, and that's why other people do notebooks, and that's okay. But for me, it was really important to have it be something, really beautiful, and have my journal be really beautiful. So that was the start of the whole bubbling over. Yeah.
It's an amazing daily practice. I am impressed with that. I think about there's a quote from Bob Proctor who says, when we pray, we're talking to God, but when we're listening, God is talking to us. So when we're using our intuition and being able to get those messages, you said when you get quiet and you hear messages and helped you to channel your book and to get those feelings in your journal is really the infinite knowledge, or however people think of it in terms of their own religious background, but it is sort of, God talking to you, basically, being able to get to that quiet place. And what a beautiful practice that you have to be able to bring that into your life and make that happen every day. That's terrific.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And all of my coaching clients, they all, I'm not standing over their shoulder watching them journal, but they certainly hear that message consistently. and everyone who starts to get into the practice of it has some kind of awakening or shift in awareness that happens, in their lives for sure. And I also, in fact, I was just talking to someone the other day about how, as a young person when I prayed, it was like this petition of, please let this work out. Please let me, remember everything for this test, and this never-ending petition of prayer. And what I've realized through growing is that the listening is just as important as the prayers. That if you're never getting quiet and just listening, you aren't going to hear those little whisperings that come to you. So for sure.
I think it's an important practice for people to be able to do that. And they talk about meditation and doing a daily practice, but it really doesn't take a whole lot to get into that state. We just don't stop and do it.
Right.
Yeah, it's great.
Right.
You talked about your 3 keys to success. Why don't we move into those now? And
sure.
You kind of alluded to them, but you want to start with the conquering limiting beliefs. Tell us more about that.
Right, and it's funny how people evolve, because this is something that I didn't really talk too much about, maybe a year or 2 ago. But what I see happen with clients, with friends, whoever, almost everyone buys somehow into the idea of the law of attraction and affirmations and the thoughts that you think create your world. But on another level, people might have a goal poster, they might have, affirmations that they're doing every day and they're not seeing changes, or it's not happening fast enough, or they're, and they say, well, this, just doesn't work. And so as I was doing more research into, why do affirmations not work, I really came into, lots of information on the idea of limiting beliefs. So what happens is, let's say you really struggle with time management in your life. And so in your affirmation you say, I'm so happy and so thankful now that I'm on time for everything and my day is completely organized. And that's your affirmation, which is a great affirmation.
It's a great one. I'm going to steal that one.
But then, if you've really struggled with it for years, sometimes you have your brain just kind of scream at you, that's a lie, that's a lie. And so then what you have is a limiting belief. And that can be an obvious one. Like a person can say, well, I've struggled with this for a long time, and so in my mind I see it as a lie. But there's other affirmations.
And I'm always going to be late.
Yeah. And other affirmations, especially regarding money, you might feel like, you're really getting into abundance and prosperity thinking, but deep down, almost all limiting beliefs come down to some version of I'm not good enough. On some level, I'm not good enough. And so, and I have people scared, they say, well, how do I know if I have a limiting belief? And I just tell them, well, pay attention to your feelings. Now, if you look at your checkbook and you start sweating bullets, or, and you're not feeling comfortable, even if you've been doing all the affirmations in the world, you have some kind of limiting belief that is surrounding money in your life. And so, and I'm not saying, psychotherapy, go back and dig and find out exactly what that is. But once you are aware that you have some kind of limiting belief that's, moving around, you can do a couple things. For some people, just that awareness is enough to have it just fall away. It's almost like, if you find out that someone is lying to you about something and you find that out, well, you no longer believe that lie. So it's the same concept with a person who's lying to themselves, around a limiting belief of, I'm not good enough. If all of a sudden they realize, that's really that's really a lie, that can just fall away from the person. But sometimes you need to get a little bit more aggressive with that limiting belief. And one of my favorite things to do, if I really feel like there's something that just won't go away, is I take a piece of paper and I write down all my thoughts and feelings. I just let them rage out on the paper. And I don't do this very often because I just described my journaling practice, and I don't do that. But if it's something that, seems to be recurring, I'll do that, and then I burn the paper. And, people can rip it up and throw it out, but I like to burn it. I like to see it go up in flames, but I did find out that paper has a high flame, so I burn it over my sink, and then so I can turn the water on in case the flame is going up there too high. But
it's a good recommendation. Yes, don't do this.
Yeah. Side note there.
I like that. Over the sink.
Yeah. So then you burn it, and then I rewrite the situation the way that I want it to be, and then I fold that up and I put it in my wallet. They can carry it with me. And it really does work because, and you can actually do that with any negative situation, but, for people who have adult children that move back home, I had our stepson, my oldest stepson, moved in with us, and when he was 19, and, he really didn't want to do anything. He didn't want to work. He didn't want to go to school. And we had one weekend, and he was kind of moody. He's really changed a lot since then. But one weekend was this terrible blow-up. And when he went storming out of the house, I was so, I was beside myself because I'm used to calm, I'm used to a very calm, peaceful environment. And so I did that process, and it totally let me let go of the feeling. And for me, the limiting belief in that situation was that I could somehow control him.
Yes.
And then I rewrote the whole situation the way that I wanted it to be, and actually everything just calmed down from there. So you can do that surrounding anything, whether it's, like a recurring, body image feeling. Lots of people struggle with, body image, or, even like addicting behaviors. That can be, an effective process. So the key to limiting beliefs is, first of all, to recognize them and then let them fall away if they will, or do some kind of active process, like I told you about the paper burning process. And so sometimes you have to, get a little bit aggressive to kind of let that release. Also, there are some good CDs out there, clearing CDs, clearing audios, to help you release things like that on a subconscious level. So, and what happens as soon as you peel one away, another one comes in. So you got to keep that awareness up.
There are many of those. Have you ever used the EFT at all for clearing?
Yeah, I have, and I think it's great. I think it's really great. And, for lots of things. So if people haven't heard about that, that could be a whole other call. I'm not a practitioner where, I teach other people how to do it. But I've used it personally, for different things, and it's worked. And I also think
Can you describe it for our listeners so they know what EFT is?
Yeah. EFT is it's a tapping thing that you do, and there are tons of books out there. I would recommend going to YouTube even and typing in EFT, and you'll get people doing like a 10-minute EFT demonstration. But you start, with tapping motions, like at the top of your head and the side of your nose and, your chin, and then you go down and you say, first of all, you say things the way that you don't want them to be, but the way that you kind of think that they are, and then you replace that with the way, at least the practitioners that I've seen, then you replace it with the way that you would like it to be. And it's just a gentle tapping, with your fingers, and you can even try, and who knows why it works. I'm sure there's research out there saying why it works, but it's almost to me like a distraction thing, that you're tapping your forehead, you're tapping your nose, and all of a sudden, it just seems like it just kind of works. But the other thing is that working with people on energy work.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, again, this is something, I'm not a practitioner. I don't teach that, but I'm open to, what works with different people. Like one thing I like to do is, I think it's important to keep your, your mind clear and clean. And so there's just a really simple one that I like of just like breathing in the green light, picturing green light. And how I do that is I picture a Star Wars lightsaber, okay, because, you don't see green light coming at you too often, but breathing in the green light and holding it and then breathing out the yellow light.
Oh,
and then
I've
breathing
never
in the
heard that.
blue light. Yep, and breathing out the orange light. And then the last one is breathing in the purple light and breathing out the red light. And that's
Can I stop you again? Let's just go over that again. So it's the first one is breathing in green, out blue.
Oh, out yellow.
Out yellow.
Breathing
I'm
in
sorry.
green,
Okay.
out yellow.
Out
That's
yellow.
Okay.
And then
breathing
in blue.
Blue and out orange.
Orange.
And then breathing in purple and then out red. And it's a really quick, like, if you've ever been shopping with kids and you get in the car and, they've asked for like a bazillion things. My kids don't usually do that. But
oh, no.
Occasionally you have that meltdown. It's great in the car. Nobody knows what you're doing. It's great when you're line at the grocery store, because it seems like those kinds of situations are times when you have a moment to stand there and you realize how much stress is in you and around you in that moment, if you have any. I mean, if you don't, I'm not saying every time at the grocery store I'm stressed, but, so it's a good, quick way, to just clean your thoughts. And another one that's really good is just breathing in peace, or breathing in peace and breathing out negativity. And just in peace and out negativity. And that's a quick one, and I actually start a lot of my group coaching calls with that because, people don't take those deep breaths.
Yes.
My daughter, my 14-year-old daughter, was telling me, Mom, I have a sleeping problem. I can't fall asleep at night. I lay in bed for 2 hours, and I worry about things. So last night I had her lay in bed with me, and I said, okay, we're going to do some deep breathing, and 3 deep breaths, and she was sound asleep.
Oh, that's great. It is great before you go to bed. I think that's a great, in an emergency, it's good when you get upset, but before you go to bed to relax yourself that way, I think that both those things, with the different colors, are just the peace in breathing in peace and out negativity. It would be fabulous before you went to sleep at night. You'd sleep much better.
Yeah, and it is really important to go to sleep clean and clear, because your subconscious is so active when you're sleeping, and I actually, I get that relaxation, but as I'm just drifting off to sleep, I set an intention that I'll have inspiration and creativity while I sleep, and then I wake up in the morning usually with some great idea, or, new product idea, new coach I want to work with, new clients I want to work with, come to me, either in the middle of the night, I wake up and write them down, or first thing when I sit up in the morning. So, but if you fall asleep all tense and stressed, that doesn't happen.
That's really cool. So you do the breathing, and then you set the intention for an inspiration, and you get them at night while you're sleeping. Great. That's beautiful.
And what's interesting is we just slid right from conquering limiting beliefs right into tapping your inner strength. That's the second key, and we've been doing it already.
Should we stop for a minute, Sheri, and just check and see if anybody has any questions at this point?
Sure.
If you have a question, you can on your phone you can hit 5 star, and you'll raise your hand, and we'll honor your questions. If anybody has a question at this point, we'd like them now, and otherwise we'll just keep going. We got a shy crowd here tonight. No?
That's okay.
That's all right.
At night too.
All right. Oh, wait a minute. We have a question. Hold on a second, and I'm going to unmute it to a phone number that ends with 081. Whoops. Hello. Hi. You're unmuted.
Hi.
What's your question?
Hi.
Tell us your name first.
I'm sorry. My name is Tammy.
Hi, Tammy. What question have you got for Sheri?
I wanted to know about the energy work that you just mentioned about breathing in the colors, in and out different colors.
Mhm.
I know you're not a practitioner in that, but does that have to do with like our chakra points? Is that the colors that we're looking at?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so the purple, the last one I didn't get. It was the breathe in purple and out.
Out red.
Red.
Red. Okay. All right, great. Thank you.
And I actually got that technique from a book on it was a book on angels, and I don't have it in front of me, but I will give that to Cecily and she can pass it on to people, the actual book where that, so I didn't just make up those colors, but the crazy thing is that I read those in a book, but I already was intuitively doing that with those same colors.
Wow.
Yeah. So, because it just seemed like the right colors to be breathing in and breathing out. So.
Right.
Great. And anything else you wanted to ask? You all set?
Nope, that was all. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else before we move on? Okay, great. Let's then when we go where we're already into inner wisdom, we can keep going from there.
Yeah, so, I think that the things that we've talked about really tie in together of the, keep paying attention to your breath. If you're breathing in and breathing out and setting those intentions, before going to sleep. People have amazing intuitive power and they don't tap into it and, or they dismiss it. But, if you've ever been a person who's had like a gut feeling and then you didn't listen to that gut feeling, usually something horrible happens, and I don't mean on a catastrophic level, but on a gut level, if you really have a powerful, I should do this or I shouldn't do this, those are important signs. And I believe that, those gut feelings, that intuition that we get are gifts from God. And that, and I'm not talking on the level of ESP, but I'm talking about those intuitive feelings that we get about people. And I'll give you a really powerful example of that. And the more people care about each other, the more likely they are to have intuition about each other. So, for instance, moms oftentimes, there's been times where I just knew intuitively both my daughters are athletes, and, I've sensed when they've been injured. And then I've gone to pick them up, and, their legs all bloody or something. I've just been able to sense that. And so the closer you are to someone, the more likely you are to have those feelings.
And just like someone you think of them, and then they call you, or you don't know if they were thinking of you, and you thought you picked that up, or you were thinking of them and they picked it up. But you're connected because you care about each other.
Yep, and a lot of times we just don't understand that that's really what's going on. And I actually, I don't want people to feel upset by me saying this, but when my brother died, he died on a Monday. And on that Friday before, I was at school, and I just had this ominous feeling come over me, and I went down to the principal, and I said, I just have this feeling, my brother's homesick, and I just have this feeling that he needs me. And so I went home and checked on him, and he was furious with me. Why did you come home? I don't need a babysitter. And he was so angry that I came home to check on him. So in hindsight, I can look at that and think, well, that probably was the day that he had picked for that. And I somehow tuned into that, but I had still no idea. I just knew that I was concerned about him. And then that night when my parents got home, I told them, I said, I was at school and I just had this feeling I had to come home and check on Stephen. And they said, well, why did you feel that way? And I said, well, I have no idea. I just had this feeling. And then I started walking up the stairs, and I just turned around and I said, you don't think he'd ever kill himself, do you? And my dad just, said, well, why would you ever say anything like that? Of course he wouldn't, and there weren't any depression signs or anything like that. And I had no idea why I thought that. And I felt stupid. I felt like, well, why would I say that and upset my parents like that? And so I really didn't, as a 17-year-old, I had no idea that I was just, it was like intuition tuning in with where he was at in his life.
Yep.
And, and as an adult looking back, I can see that clearly. But, I also don't look back on that and think, well, everyone should have stopped everything and done something about it, because it came from nowhere, that thought in my mind. And I don't, feel bitter towards my parents, because it's been years and we all went through just a horrible time going through that whole thing. But, as I've read more about intuition really is that thing that comes to you out of the blue.
Yes.
It's not, it's something that just seems to come out of nowhere. And those are the things to pay attention to. And I don't mean to make people superstitious or anything like that, but just that if you have that thought that just comes to you out of the blue, whether it's something positive you should do or even like a worried thought about someone, that those are the things that are the intuitive things that we can tap into more and more in our lives. And, any mother knows that how often have you been sleeping and you don't hear your child cough or anything, but you just sit up in the middle of the night and check on them and they have a burning fever. So, if it exists on that level, it exists in many other levels. So the more that you are quiet, get quiet, and the more time that you spend, intending to hear that inner wisdom, intending to get those messages from your higher power, your spiritual life. For me, it's God. The more those things will manifest and help you guide your life and help you, avoid mistakes and, or at least give you some direction, around things. And sometimes just being mentally prepared for something. You just, that's just a very important part of inner wisdom. So, and I have to say I've never shared that on a call. I've done lots of interviews, and I've never shared that I had that intuitive thought. And I think part of it is that, for all these years on some level, I felt guilty. Like maybe there was something I could have done more. And the first person I told about it, it was such a relief to just have that memory and just say it. And I feel, the same, like, for some reason I just felt compelled to share that. So I don't know if there's some listener out there who needs to hear that.
Well, I think there is some issues around guilt, and people feel that, if I had just listened to that gut feeling, or I knew something. And I think that it is important to point out that there are things happen for reasons, and you weren't responsible for that situation, and that there are always other opportunities that, every message is for a lesson or something that you're supposed to learn or be part of, and other opportunities will show up. It's not like we beat ourselves up, because that gets back to your limiting beliefs again, that's something wrong with you because you didn't listen.
Right, and the thing is, we can only act with what we know, and if you're, like I was in a place where I had no awareness of any sort of power of intuition, and so I just felt like it was just a dumb thought that came in my head. Maybe I thought I watched too many movies or something like that. So it wasn't like I had like a conscious realization and purposely dismissed it. It was like I thought at that time I had a thought in my head, and I couldn't understand why I had that thought in my head. So that's why when we look, Louise Hay talks so much about forgiveness.
Yes.
And for so many of us, it's forgiving ourselves, even if we didn't do anything to cause, whatever happened in our life. So many of us hold ourselves accountable or responsible for things. And so just saying, well, whether I was responsible or not, I forgive myself.
Yes.
And forgiving other people. It's just so important to that inner strength and inner wisdom and love and joy and, everything that we bring to us stems from, those kinds of powerful things that we can do in our lives.
Absolutely, and forgiveness is really key. And it doesn't mean that what people, or there are things that people have done that they are pretty awful, but we don't have to carry around those feelings. So we let go of them by forgiving and not have to also punish ourselves for things that we think we should have been doing too. So self-forgiveness is definitely key. And that helps to open up that inner wisdom. I think you can listen better and you can get more messages when you have let go of a lot of that turmoil and anger and upsetness that you carry around. You can get more of tap into more inner wisdom when your life isn't quite as dramatic as sometimes it can get. Yep.
Well, I think our last topic is the fast-tracking abundance and prosperity. That's always fun.
All right.
So should we dive in?
I think we should.
Okay. All right. Well, I really, so many of us, we've read The Secret Book. We've read lots of books on law of attraction and abundance and prosperity. And again, it's that, so why isn't it coming to me? Why do I still have debt? Why, why are things still not the way that I really visualize my life to be? Because we talked about limiting beliefs, I'm assuming that we've rooted out some of those limiting beliefs. So fast-tracking abundance, one of the biggest things is expanding your capacity to receive. So you could claim, I'm so happy and so thankful that I have this pile of $25,000 cash in my hands right now for a big shopping spree. But if you haven't expanded your capacity to receive and really, feel that comfort of being at that higher state, that abundance isn't free to move in. So it comes down to, just a lot of, even affirmations around receiving, or visualizations around being able to receive. And, so how many people have you, seen where they, I work hard for everything I have, and they really, it's like the grasping, striving, trying to pull things towards them when it can really be just flowing to you. And so so that being able to receive is huge. And if you think you don't have any problems receiving, everyone on the call, just think for a moment how you are when someone gives you an unexpected gift. So whether it's a bottle of wine or, it's things like, oh, you shouldn't have done that. Or, people immediately think, oh, I got to go out and buy them a gift. Because we are so not used to getting unexpected good things coming to us.
And even just compliments, too. I think some people just can't even allow themselves to just receive something nice about who they are. Well, and I remember one time, early in my coaching practice, I was talking to my daughters and I was offering some class or something, or maybe it was an audio or whatever. But, they were selling really well and, kind of not like a million copies or anything, but things were trickling in. And, my daughter said to me, well, what's your total, this week, Mom? And, I told her, and then I said, well, maybe I'll sell like 10 more today. And they're like, yeah, then we could, they're thinking we could go to the mall kind of stuff. And I said, well, yeah, 10 would be great, but I would be happy with just 2 more. And guess what I sold? 2 more. 2 more, yep.
And I specifically said 2 more. If I had not added that 2 more, I bet it would have been 10.
Yes.
Not that 2 more wasn't great, but I limited it.
Mhm.
You know, and that's what we do in our ability to receive. We think of these great things like, our perfect car or our perfect house or the ideal job, and then immediately comes in our mind, well, I would settle for blah, blah, blah. You know, it's like you go to interview for a job and you have in mind the salary that you feel you deserve, but in the back of your mind you go, well, I'd settle for this. And what do you usually get? You get what you said in your head you were going to settle for.
We set our own limits for things, absolutely, all the time. Yeah.
All the time. And I'm not talking about being greedy. I'm talking about just being open. And there's a great visualization in the book by John Randolph Price called The Abundance Book. It's a little teeny tiny book.
Oh, I've heard of that.
But he gives this great, it was written a while ago, like it might have been like the 70s or 80s, maybe early 90s, but it's a visualization of expanding your ability to receive. And the visualization goes something like this. Now, it's not going to be word for word from the book, but first of all, the realization that we're all connected and that we all have the same capacity for abundance. And so the visualization is imagining light, your entire body being filled with light, and this light going in beams all across the planet to every face on the planet, and pick out a person's face, a little boy in Africa, a friend in Switzerland, where you can actually picture their face and that going right to them and lighting up their whole bodies. Their bodies are just glowing, and all over the globe you've sent light to people, and everyone's glowing. And then you're standing at the end of a bridge, and then all that light is coming back, and it's coming in waves over this bridge towards you, and it hits your feet, and it lights up your whole body and makes you just glow. And then you send out that light again. So it's like a never-ending supply of light that you're giving out to other people, and it's coming back to you. And it's just such an incredible visualization. And when I first did it, I did it very generically, like, okay, it's going out to the world. And then I started picking specific people. And it was around Christmas time, and I pictured my parents. I was sitting there, and I was sending all this light to them, and I was picturing them just, like, glowing with all this loving light. And then when I was done with my meditation, I jumped on the treadmill, and 5 minutes later, my dad calls me and says, your mom and I were just thinking about you, and we want to send you $1,000 to buy a new laptop for Christmas.
Wow.
And
That's
and
I love it.
And you know how moms are, like, around Christmas time, even though I really wanted a new laptop, what was I doing? I was out there buying stuff for my kiddos. And I could have bought a laptop for myself, but it was the mental block that I had. I knew I wanted a new computer, but I was sending all this energy out, and my parents just knew. They just knew from doing that. So, and it's great that I'm 42 and my parents still think of me like that. I think if they lived in the same state, they probably would still be bringing me food like they did when I was in college,
Well, I really love that visualization. And can you say the name of the book again? Is it The Abundance Book, and the author again?
It's John Randolph Price.
John Randolph Price. So if people are interested, they can read about that.
It's on Amazon. Yeah.
All right. And I'm just watching the time, Sheri, because we're getting close to the end of our hour, and I wanted to make sure that you had some time to talk about your new program that's starting tomorrow. So, and that you have a special offer for people who are on the call. So, would you like to take a moment and talk about that, and then we'll take a minute for you to sort of wrap up and have final thoughts.
Sure. Well, I do. I have a great program that's starting tomorrow. It's a 6-month coaching program, and it is called Your Path to Success, Jumpstart the Joy in Your Life, and it's sort of my theme for my business. And in that 6 months, it's 18 group coaching calls, so 3 a month for 6 months, plus everyone who's part of that program gets my membership site for free, which is also an additional call a month, and tons of resources and everything. And then in that 6 months, you get also 3 individual coaching sessions with me, and the opportunity to be part of my All-Stars Ning network group, and the opportunity to mastermind with other people if you're interested. And the topics that we cover is we talk about, really it's an emphasis on, your heart thinking right, getting that mind-body-spirit connection flowing, but it's practical. People say, well, you're so spiritual, but you're so practical. How does that work? And that's the way that I believe that things should work. I mean, we're spiritual beings, but we live in a real practical world. And so ways to bring the joy, which the joy needs to come first. The joy happens first in your life, and then everything else emanates from this joy, this inner joy that you create. All the success that you could ever want, and everybody wants different things. We don't all want to be American Idol. We don't all, want to be the CEO of a company. We all have our individual things. I know that there are people out there where their ideal life is to spend their entire life volunteering, and so it's whatever your vision of success is, and we work on that. So we really get to the root of what's been holding you back, and we move you forward into a life and an awakening into a life that you really, truly love to live every single day. And normally this program is $147 a month, and everyone who is on this call will get the program for $70 off per month. So then that takes your program down to $77 a month. And I also know that there are people possibly on this call that have already registered for the class that's starting tomorrow, and I will give you that deal too, even if you're already registered. And so what you do is you go to my website, and Cecily has a link for you when she sends the follow-up notes. But when you go to my website, it's the group coaching tab, and then when you go to checkout, you put in the coupon code of news bonus, just like the word, like news, like TV news, and the word bonus, and that will give you that discount. And you're just paying for your first month, so you pay every single month, and there is an option, too, to pay like one larger fee of $4.99 for the whole program, and then you could also use your $70 off the $4.99, so you're actually saving even a little bit more. So that's my offer to everyone.
That's incredibly generous, Sheri. Thank you so much. That's, I'm sure, going to be an amazing program for people. And again, that news bonus again, the coupon code was news bonus, NEWS BONUS, and we will you will for participating in this call, and other people who had signed up but couldn't be here tonight will also get emails, which will include all the links to and the bonus code, the coupon code, so that they can sign up and get take advantage of what that terrific discount that Sheri is offering for everyone today. So can we just wrap it up then? We're doing really great. We're right on the hour, but any final thoughts, Sheri, you'd like to leave people with? This has been a terrific call, really appreciating all that you've shared with us today.
Well, first of all, I have to say thank you again to you, Cecily. You've been a great host, and I love your insightful questions. And you have a real gift for bringing out things in people, and I've just loved the energy feeling that I've had on this call. And what I want to leave everyone with is that I truly not just believe, but I know that everyone can truly live in joy, live joyfully no matter what's happened. I mean, if I can come back from not just having my brother kill himself, but being the one to find him, and, all the spiraling that I did after that, anybody can. And I can, a lot of times it helps to have someone show you how. You get the support. I wish I would have had a coach 20 years ago to help me progress a lot faster than, that I did. I had to kind of figure it out myself, but then that's why I'm here today talking to you. So I believe in you, and I believe in your joy, and I believe in your success, and thank you so much for having me here tonight. Thank you.
Well, thank you again. You've been an incredible guest, and you've given us so much to think about, and hopefully people will take advantage of you as their coach, because that is a tremendous opportunity. And you have other things, too. You've got books for sale, and people who just visit your website, if they're not ready for 6 months, you've got other things available, too. Definitely do something with Sheri. She's amazing, and I've appreciated our friendship and our ability to work together very much. So I just also want to thank everyone for being here tonight. It was a terrific call, and we do have another call coming up on, will be May 5th, and we'll advertise this, but we're going to have Karen Polino, and she is an incredibly talented intuitive and a spiritual teacher, and she's going to help us learn how to connect with the angelic realm and continue on part of what Sheri was talking about today, was that whole idea of your inner wisdom, but with using angel knowledge is part of that. So Karen's fascinating and a very exciting person, so I look forward to her call on May 5th, and watch for announcements of that in your email or Facebook, or we'll be in lots of places advertising this next call. So thank you again, and what a great evening we've had, and appreciate everyone's being here with us. And thank you again to Sheri for an amazing call. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you again in May. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye. To learn more, please go to lightbeamacademy.com/livingjoyfully. Thank you.